The morning sun cast sharp shadows across Fort Davidson as Sergeant Martinez stepped from the personnel transport, her duffel bag slung with practiced efficiency over one shoulder. The processing office buzzed with typical military monotony, fluorescent lights humming above rows of metal desks where soldiers shuffled paperwork and checked assignments. Staff Sergeant Coleman barely glanced up from his computer screen when Martinez approached, her boots clicking against polished linoleum. His fingers moved across the keyboard with mechanical precision while he spoke without making eye contact, clearly addressing what he assumed was another routine arrival. "You're Martinez, correct? Temporary duty assignment, 2 weeks duration." Coleman reached for a clipboard without lifting his gaze, scanning the abbreviated summary that appeared on his monitor. "Says here you need work detail assignment. We have cleaning rotation available." Martinez maintained her bearing while Coleman's assumption settled into official reality. Her complete service record remained buried beneath security classifications he lacked clearance to access, leaving only basic information visible on his screen. "Perfect timing, actually," Coleman continued, finally looking up with the expression of someone solving a simple logistics problem. "Officer quarters need attention before the quarterly inspection. You can help keep our base presentable." The dismissive tone carried undertones Martinez recognized from countless similar encounters. Coleman handed her assignment papers along with directions to the facility supervisor, treating the exchange as efficiently routine while missing every indicator of her actual background and capabilities. 20 minutes later, Martinez found herself standing before facility supervisor Jenkins, who examined her orders with slightly more attention than Coleman had shown. Jenkins operated from a cluttered office filled with maintenance schedules and supply inventories, his weathered hands suggesting years of practical base operations. "Cleaning detail for Officer Barracks Complex C," Jenkins announced while gathering supplies from a storage cabinet. "These are our senior officers, so attention to detail matters more than speed." He handed her industrial cleaning equipment and a ring of keys, emphasizing protocols for accessing secured areas. The assignment came with specific instructions about working around officer schedules, maintaining professional distance, and reporting any maintenance issues through proper channels. Jenkins explained the building layout with bureaucratic thoroughness, noting which areas required different levels of access and care. Martinez absorbed the information while internally cataloging the irony of her situation. Her actual qualifications included managing million-dollar equipment under combat conditions. Yet here she stood receiving detailed instructions about proper floor cleaning techniques. Officer Barracks Complex C stood 3 stories tall, with red brick facades and manicured landscaping that reflected the military's attention to appearance standards. Martinez entered through the service entrance, noting the building's security features and layout with instincts developed through years of tactical assessment. The interior revealed quality accommodations befitting senior military personnel. Hardwood floors gleamed under regular maintenance, while common areas featured leather furniture and framed photographs documenting unit achievements. Each hallway displayed awards and commendations that spoke to the residents' professional accomplishments. Martinez began her assigned tasks while observing the environment that would define her next 2 weeks. Through open doorways, she glimpsed personal quarters that reflected individual personalities through books, photographs, and personal items that made sterile military housing feel more human. The rhythmic sounds of her work mixed with distant conversations as officers moved through their daily routines. Their voices carried discussions about upcoming inspections, training schedules, and administrative concerns that formed the backdrop of military life between missions. As afternoon approached, Martinez recognized the efficiency patterns she had developed over years of adapting to new environments. Her methodical approach to unfamiliar assignments served her well, whether the task involved complex military operations or basic maintenance duties that others might find beneath their station. The cleaning cart rolled smoothly across polished floors as Martinez moved between rooms, her movements reflecting military precision applied to civilian tasks. Each area received thorough attention, while she mentally mapped the building's layout and resident patterns with unconscious tactical awareness. Through the windows, Fort Davidson buzzed with typical afternoon activity. Soldiers moved between buildings, vehicles navigated base roads, and the distant sounds of training exercises provided familiar military atmosphere that felt more like home than any civilian environment ever could. The second morning brought Captain Brennan into Martinez's sphere with the force of colliding weather systems. She had been working methodically through the third-floor hallway when his door opened abruptly, revealing a man whose posture suggested someone accustomed to immediate deference from subordinates. Brennan stepped into the corridor, wearing his utility uniform with crisp precision, his rank insignia catching fluorescent light as he surveyed Martinez's progress with obvious displeasure. His eyes moved from her cleaning supplies to the freshly mopped sections of floor, finding fault through expression alone before speaking. "You call this clean?" His voice carried the sharp edge of someone addressing a problem rather than a person. Brennan gestured toward areas Martinez had already finished, pointing out imaginary deficiencies with the confidence of unquestioned authority. Martinez straightened from her work, meeting his criticism with professional bearing that betrayed none of her actual background. She responded with measured precision about her cleaning procedures and timeline, maintaining military courtesy while Brennan's agitation visibly intensified. The captain's tone shifted from criticism to interrogation as he questioned her methods, her speed, and her understanding of proper standards. His aggressive posture filled the hallway space while Martinez absorbed his complaints without defensive reaction, recognizing patterns she had encountered countless times in different contexts. "Unacceptable work requires correction," Brennan declared while pointing toward his personal quarters. "My bathroom needs proper attention since you clearly missed significant issues." He stepped aside with exaggerated impatience, expecting immediate compliance with his demands. Martinez gathered her supplies and entered his quarters, noting the immaculate condition that contradicted his complaints. The bathroom showed no signs of inadequate cleaning, yet Brennan insisted on pointing out problems that existed only in his determination to find fault with her performance. While Martinez worked under his critical supervision, footsteps approached from the stairwell. Lieutenant Torres appeared first, followed closely by Captain Walsh, both drawn by Brennan's raised voice and the unusual sight of their colleague micromanaging cleaning staff. "Look at this situation," Brennan announced to his fellow officers while gesturing toward Martinez as if she represented a broader institutional problem. "We have cleaning personnel who cannot maintain basic standards despite explicit instructions and adequate time allocation." Torres and Walsh positioned themselves to observe the confrontation, their presence transforming individual criticism into group judgment. They exchanged glances that communicated shared understanding about proper hierarchies and appropriate responses to perceived inadequate performance from support personnel. The three officers began discussing Martinez's presence and performance, as if her proximity made her invisible rather than present. Their conversation included speculation about her competence, her attention to detail, and whether cleaning staff received adequate training before assignment to officer areas. Martinez absorbed their commentary while completing tasks that required no improvement, maintaining professional composure despite the escalating nature of their group criticism. She noted their names, ranks, and unit affiliations with the automatic precision of someone trained to gather intelligence under adverse conditions. Brennan's confidence grew with his audience present, his voice carrying increased authority as he detailed her alleged failures and the need for immediate correction. He spoke about standards, expectations, and consequences with the tone of someone educating subordinates about proper military values. The confrontation reached its crescendo when Brennan announced his intention to report her performance through official channels. His threat carried implications about her continued assignment and future opportunities, delivered with the certainty of someone accustomed to having his complaints taken seriously by supervisors. "This kind of work reflects poorly on the entire facility," Brennan concluded while his fellow officers nodded agreement. Personnel who cannot meet basic requirements should not be assigned to areas where standards matter most. Martinez completed her assigned tasks while the three officers maintained their positions of judgment, their body language radiating satisfaction with their collective assertion of authority. She gathered her supplies methodically, acknowledging their complaints with military courtesy that revealed nothing about her actual thoughts regarding their behavior. The hallway returned to silence after Martinez departed, leaving the three officers to continue their discussion about proper standards and appropriate consequences for inadequate performance. Their confidence in their actions reflected assumptions about hierarchies, qualifications, and their own positions within the military structure that would soon face serious examination. The second day brought assignment to clean common areas during peak officer hours, a scheduling decision that placed Martinez directly in the path of routine military operations. The main conference room required attention while Major Patterson conducted his regular briefing session, creating an uncomfortable intersection of cleaning duties and classified discussions. Martinez entered the room with her supplies as Patterson spread tactical maps across the central table, his three subordinates taking positions around the polished surface. The officers acknowledged her presence through calculated indifference, treating her like mobile furniture that happened to perform maintenance functions while they discussed sensitive operational details. Patterson launched into briefing materials without pause, his voice carrying across the room as Martinez worked methodically around the perimeter. The conversation covered deployment schedules, personnel rotations, and mission parameters that would normally require cleared individuals and secured environments for discussion. The tactical discussion revealed information about unit movements, resource allocation, and coordination requirements that demonstrated significant operational scope. Patterson's team responded with questions and observations that showed their deep involvement in planning phases, their expertise evident through professional military terminology and strategic understanding. Martinez absorbed the irony of her situation while dusting surfaces and organizing materials around their meeting space. Her actual security clearance exceeded everyone present, yet they discussed classified operations as if she possessed neither ears nor understanding of military significance. Captain Brennan arrived 20 minutes late, bursting through the door with obvious irritation about traffic delays and parking difficulties. His gaze immediately found Martinez working near the windows, and his expression shifted to pronounced annoyance at what he perceived as inappropriate civilian presence during operational planning. "Why is cleaning staff here during our briefing?" Brennan demanded while pointing directly at Martinez, his voice carrying accusatory overtones that suggested deliberate security violation rather than routine scheduling conflict. Patterson paused his presentation to address Brennan's complaint, explaining the facility maintenance requirements and inspection deadlines that necessitated flexible cleaning schedules. His tone suggested mild irritation at the interruption rather than concern about Martinez's presence during their discussion. "This represents a distraction from important work," Brennan declared while maintaining his aggressive posture. "Real soldiers require focused environments for operational planning without civilian personnel creating unnecessary complications." The other officers exchanged glances that communicated shared understanding about Brennan's tendency toward dramatic reactions, though they nodded agreement with his general principle about maintaining proper security protocols during sensitive discussions. Martinez gathered her supplies without haste, demonstrating professional compliance with Brennan's implicit demand for her removal while maintaining the dignity befitting someone with actual military experience rather than civilian contractor status. "I will return when your meeting concludes," Martinez stated clearly, addressing Patterson directly with appropriate military courtesy that acknowledged his authority while avoiding any appearance of defensive reaction to Brennan's aggressive behavior. Patterson dismissed her with casual acknowledgement, already returning his attention to operational matters while Brennan's satisfaction radiated through his posture and expression. The remaining officers resumed their discussion as Martinez departed, their laughter carrying faintly through the closing door. 2 hours later, Martinez returned to find the conference room transformed into a deliberate obstacle course of scattered materials and overturned containers. Food debris covered sections of floor she had cleaned that morning, while trash bins lay sideways with contents spilled across polished surfaces. The mess displayed intentional creation rather than accidental occurrence. Papers were scattered with systematic thoroughness. Coffee had been poured deliberately across the table surface, and food items were distributed in patterns that suggested purposeful placement rather than careless handling. Martinez surveyed the destruction while calculating the time required for proper restoration. The damage exceeded normal meeting aftermath by significant margins, clearly designed to create maximum inconvenience and demonstrate her subordinate position within the building hierarchy. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez appeared in the doorway as Martinez began assessment of the cleanup requirements. His expression showed confusion, followed by recognition of the deliberate nature of the mess, his military experience enabling him to distinguish between accidental disorder and intentional sabotage. Rodriguez watched Martinez begin her work without complaint or visible anger, noting her systematic approach to addressing problems that clearly resulted from deliberate harassment rather than normal facility usage. His discomfort grew as he observed the scope of unnecessary destruction and her professional response to obvious provocation. The two soldiers worked in silence while Rodriguez processed the implications of what he witnessed. His understanding of military values and proper treatment of service members conflicted sharply with the evidence before him, creating internal tension about his obligation to address inappropriate behavior within his unit. Martinez restored order methodically, while Rodriguez observed her bearing and efficiency under adverse conditions. Her performance suggested experience with difficult situations and adaptation to challenging environments that seemed inconsistent with typical cleaning staff backgrounds and capabilities. As afternoon faded into evening, Rodriguez departed with questions about Martinez's actual background and growing concern about the treatment she received from his fellow soldiers. The deliberate mess represented behavior that violated basic military principles about respect and professional conduct regardless of rank or assignment differences. Rodriguez returned to the administrative building with Martinez's professional demeanor weighing heavily on his mind. The deliberate sabotage he had witnessed violated every principle of military conduct he respected, yet her response suggested experience with far more serious challenges than cleaning supply management and facility maintenance. The personnel office hummed with typical afternoon activity as Rodriguez approached his workstation, computer terminals glowing with data streams that contained the complete service histories of thousands of military personnel. His security clearance provided access to basic records for operational purposes, though deeper files required additional authorization levels. Rodriguez entered Martinez's name into the personnel database, expecting routine information about previous assignments and training certifications. The initial screen displayed standard details confirming her current rank and temporary duty status, along with assignment to facility maintenance through administrative channels. Her service records showed deployment history spanning multiple years, though specific unit designations appeared partially redacted or referenced through code numbers rather than standard nomenclature. Rodriguez recognized patterns suggesting assignments that required security clearances beyond typical support personnel levels. The database indicated previous postings at installations known for specialized training and operations, locations that suggested involvement in activities requiring advanced skills and security protocols. Rodriguez's growing curiosity led him to attempt accessing more detailed assignment information through expanded search parameters. Access restrictions blocked his attempts to retrieve comprehensive service details, displaying warning messages about classification levels and authorization requirements. The system indicated Martinez's complete record existed across multiple security domains that exceeded his current clearance limitations. Rodriguez contacted Specialist Chun in personnel records, using informal networks developed through years of administrative cooperation. Chin's expertise with personnel systems and classification protocols made him valuable for navigating complex service histories that involve security considerations. Chin's response carried unexpected seriousness when Rodriguez mentioned Martinez's name. The specialist confirmed that her file contained multiple classification layers requiring different authorization levels for access, suggesting service history involving activities beyond typical military operations. You are dealing with someone whose background includes restricted information, Chin explained while accessing portions of Martinez's record he could legally discuss. Her previous assignments included units that required extensive security clearances and specialized training certifications. The conversation revealed Martinez's service included deployments to locations associated with combat operations and special activities, though specific details remained classified beyond Chin's access authority. Her qualifications suggested capabilities that contradicted her current assignment to basic facility maintenance duties. Rodriguez thanked Chin while processing implications of Martinez's hidden background, recognizing the growing disconnect between her treatment and her actual service history. The administrative evidence suggested someone whose qualifications deserved respect rather than harassment from less experienced personnel. Later that afternoon, Rodriguez approached Martinez during her scheduled break period, finding her sitting alone outside the facility maintenance building. She maintained perfect military posture even during rest time, her bearing reflecting discipline developed through rigorous training rather than casual civilian employment. "I want to check on how your assignment is progressing." Rodriguez began carefully, noting her alert attention and professional demeanor. "Your experience here seems challenging given some of the interactions I have observed with other personnel." Martinez responded with measured courtesy about adaptation to new environments and working with different personality types, her answers providing information without revealing personal details or expressing complaints about treatment she had received. Rodriguez asked general questions about her previous assignments and military background, hoping to understand the discrepancy between her current situation and the capabilities suggested by her bearing and professional competence under difficult circumstances. "Various assignments over several years," Martinez replied when pressed for specifics. "Different locations, different requirements. Standard military service with deployments as needed by operational demands and personnel allocation decisions." Her vague responses reflected practice deflection techniques that suggested experience with situations requiring careful information control. Rodriguez noted her physical fitness appeared exceptional for someone assigned to cleaning duties, her movements displaying tactical awareness that contradicted civilian contractor backgrounds. The conversation concluded with Rodriguez offering assistance if problems developed, though Martinez declined with polite appreciation. Her independence suggested confidence in handling difficult situations through personal capabilities rather than requiring intervention from well-meaning colleagues. Rodriguez departed with confirmed suspicions about Martinez's background extending far beyond her current assignment parameters. The administrative evidence, combined with personal observation, indicated someone whose service history deserve investigation through unofficial channels that might reveal information blocked by standard security protocols. That evening, Rodriguez began planning approaches to uncover Martinez's complete background through contacts at various installations where her service record indicated previous assignments. The harassment she endured demanded response proportional to her actual contributions and qualifications rather than assumptions based on current duty status. The equipment closet provided perfect isolation when Captain Brennan encountered Martinez organizing cleaning supplies after lunch. The narrow space contained shelving units filled with maintenance materials, creating confined quarters where normal military protocols about personal space and appropriate interaction became meaningless under his escalating aggression. Brennan positioned himself between Martinez and the door, his bulk filling the exit while she arranged chemical containers according to safety requirements. His presence transformed routine organization into confrontation, the small space amplifying tension as he prepared to address what he perceived as ongoing security violations. "You have been listening to classified information during operational meetings," Brennan accused while stepping closer, his voice carrying certainty about her alleged misconduct. "Military personnel with proper clearances conduct sensitive business without civilian interference or unauthorized surveillance." Martinez straightened slowly from her work, recognizing the shift in his approach from harassment to direct accusation. The confined space eliminated retreat options, while Brennan's aggressive posture indicated his intention to resolve their conflict through intimidation rather than official channels. Brennan's hand shot forward to grasp her shoulder, his fingers digging into military fabric as he pushed her backward against metal shelving. The physical contact crossed boundaries that transformed their previous encounters into assault, his strength applied, without consideration for appropriate conduct between military personnel. Martinez absorbed the impact without resistance, though her stance shifted with subtle precision that redistributed her weight and balance. Her defensive positioning occurred through muscle memory developed during years of training that prepared her for situations requiring rapid response to physical threats. The chemical containers rattled against shelving as Brennan pressed his advantage, demanding answers about her presence during classified discussions and her apparent inability to understand basic security protocols. His accusations mixed legitimate concerns with personal frustration about her continued assignment to sensitive areas. Martinez maintained eye contact without displaying fear or submission, her composure suggesting experience with confrontations that involve significantly higher stakes than cleaning duty disputes. Brennan's intimidation tactics met resistance that confused rather than intimidated, undermining his expectations about appropriate responses to physical pressure. Lieutenant Torres appeared in the doorway as Brennan's voice reached levels that carried beyond the equipment closet into adjacent hallways. Torres assessed the situation with obvious discomfort, recognizing behavior that violated regulations about appropriate conduct regardless of rank differences or duty assignments. "Captain," Torres intervened reluctantly, his tone suggesting awareness of crossing boundaries while maintaining minimal confrontation with a superior officer. Perhaps this discussion should occur through official channels rather than informal consultation in confined spaces. Brennan released Martinez while glaring at Torres, frustrated by interruption that prevented resolution of what he considered necessary correction of security violations. His aggressive energy sought outlet through continued confrontation, though Torres's presence forced adherence to minimal professional standards. Martinez gathered her supplies without haste, demonstrating controlled movement that avoided appearance of flight while extracting herself from dangerous proximity to Brennan's escalating behavior. Her professional bearing remained intact despite physical intimidation that would have shaken personnel lacking combat experience. Meanwhile, Rodriguez utilized his lunch break to contact Staff Sergeant Kim at Fort Bragg, leveraging personal relationships developed during previous assignments. Kim's expertise with personnel records and informal networks provided access to information that formal channels restricted through security classifications. Kim's response carried immediate recognition when Rodriguez mentioned Martinez's name and current assignment difficulties. The staff sergeant confirmed knowledge of Martinez through professional reputation rather than casual acquaintance, suggesting service history that created lasting impressions among military personnel. Martinez served with the 75th Ranger Regiment, Kim revealed after confirming Rodriguez's legitimate need for background information. Her deployment record includes multiple combat zones with classified operational involvement that required extensive security clearances and specialized training. The conversation provided Rodriguez with concrete evidence about Martinez's elite military background, explaining the discrepancy between her current treatment and her actual qualifications. Kim described her involvement in operations that demanded capabilities far exceeding basic military service requirements. Rodriguez learned Martinez participated in classified activities throughout Afghanistan deployment, engaging in operations that required precision, courage, and tactical expertise. Kim's respect for her service record contradicted every assumption the base officers had made about her background and capabilities. Her assignment to cleaning duty represents administrative error rather than appropriate utilization of qualified personnel, Kim concluded, while emphasizing Martinez's contributions to successful missions that saved military lives. Someone with her background deserves recognition rather than harassment from less experienced officers. Rodriguez ended the conversation with transformed understanding about Martinez's situation, recognizing that decorated combat veteran was enduring treatment that violated basic military principles. The physical intimidation she faced from Brennan represented assault against someone whose service record demanded respect rather than suspicion. The afternoon concluded with Rodriguez possessing information that would change everything, though he faced decisions about how to proceed with evidence that revealed massive institutional failure in personnel management and fundamental misconduct by multiple officers who lacked understanding about whom they were targeting. Rodriguez approached Master Sergeant Williams with growing urgency about Martinez's situation, finding his supervisor reviewing maintenance schedules in the administrative building. Williams commanded respect through decades of military experience, his office walls displaying photographs and commendations that reflected comprehensive understanding of proper military conduct and personnel management. The Master Sergeant listened to Rodriguez's initial concerns with patient attention, though his expression suggested familiarity with complaints about personality conflicts and adjustment difficulties. Williams had supervised hundreds of personnel transitions over his career, developing expertise in distinguishing serious problems from routine integration challenges. "Sounds like normal integration issues," Williams responded after Rodriguez described the harassment incidents. New personnel sometimes face adjustment periods while establishing their positions within existing unit dynamics and learning proper protocols. Rodriguez pressed forward with details about Martinez's Ranger Regiment background and combat deployment history, emphasizing the disconnect between her qualifications and current treatment by officers who lacked awareness of her actual service record. His tone carried conviction about institutional failure rather than personality conflicts. Williams's demeanor shifted when Rodriguez mentioned classified operational background and specialized training that contradicted facility maintenance assignment. The Master Sergeant recognized implications about personnel management failures and potential misconduct by officers who should demonstrate better leadership judgment. "I will look into this situation," Williams agreed, while noting Rodriguez's concerns in his supervisor log. "However, you should understand the importance of maintaining proper channels and avoiding unnecessary waves that could complicate resolution through appropriate administrative processes." The warning carried subtle implications about career consequences for personnel who created problems through unofficial investigation or public criticism of superior officers. Williams balanced acknowledgement of legitimate concerns against institutional pressures to resolve conflicts quietly through established procedures. Rodriguez accepted the guidance while maintaining his commitment to ensuring Martinez received appropriate treatment, recognizing that official channels moved slowly while harassment escalated daily. His determination to protect a fellow service member outweighed personal career considerations about challenging established hierarchies. Separately, Captain Brennan convened an urgent meeting with Major Patterson, Captain Walsh, and Lieutenant Torres in Patterson's private office. The gathering addressed what Brennan characterized as growing security concerns about Martinez's continued presence during sensitive operations and classified discussions. Brennan outlined his perception of Martinez as potential security risk, citing her presence during operational planning sessions and her alleged pattern of positioning herself to overhear classified information. His arguments mixed legitimate security protocols with personal frustration about her resistance to his intimidation tactics. Her behavior demonstrates surveillance characteristics that warrant immediate removal from officer areas, Brennan declared, while pacing before the assembled group. Military installations require protection from unauthorized personnel who might compromise operational security through intelligence gathering activities. Patterson nodded agreement with general security principles while Walsh and Torres exchanged glances that suggested uncertainty about Brennan's characterization of routine cleaning duties as espionage activities. The officers recognized valid concerns about classified information protection mixed with personal animosity that complicated objective assessment. Walsh supported Brennan's proposal to restrict Martinez to non-sensitive areas, arguing that prevention represented better policy than investigation after potential security breaches occurred. His position reflected conservative approach to risk management rather than evidence-based assessment of actual threats. Torres expressed reservations about hasty action without formal investigation, though he supported reporting concerns through appropriate channels. His reluctance reflected recognition that their treatment of Martinez might face scrutiny if examined by higher authority familiar with proper personnel management protocols. Patterson concluded the meeting by agreeing to report Martinez to base security for suspicious behavior investigation, accepting Brennan's characterization of her activities as potentially threatening rather than routine facility maintenance. The decision reflected institutional bias toward officer complaints regardless of evidence quality. Meanwhile, Rodriguez pursued deeper investigation of Martinez's service record through expanded database queries that revealed additional classified elements previously hidden behind security protocols. His persistent research uncovered references to awards and commendations that suggested extraordinary service beyond routine military duties. The personnel system displayed notation about Silver Star citation in Martinez's complete file, though specific details remained classified above Rodriguez's clearance level. The decoration indicated combat heroism of exceptional degree, reserved for actions involving extraordinary gallantry against enemy forces under life-threatening circumstances. Rodriguez realized Martinez possessed one of military's highest combat awards, recognizing implications about her actual capabilities and service contributions that contradicted every assumption the base officers had made. The Silver Star represented validation of courage and effectiveness under combat conditions that demanded immediate respect. His investigation expanded to include attempts at contacting Martinez's previous commanding officers through unofficial networks, seeking information about her specific achievements and operational background. The informal approach bypassed administrative delays while providing personal testimony about her character and capabilities. Rodriguez's contacts at various installations confirmed Martinez's reputation as exceptional soldier whose contributions exceeded normal service expectations. The consistent praise from multiple sources validated his growing conviction that she deserved protection rather than persecution from officers who lacked understanding of military excellence. The chain of command began formal review of Martinez's assignment as Williams initiated administrative inquiry into her placement and treatment. The institutional machinery moved slowly but steadily toward examination of personnel decisions that placed decorated combat veteran in inappropriate duty status while allowing harassment from less qualified officers. Rodriguez concluded his investigation phase with confirmation that Martinez represented exactly the kind of military professional who deserved institutional protection and recognition. Her Silver Star citation alone demanded immediate correction of her situation and accountability for officers whose behavior violated fundamental military values about respect for distinguished service. Captain Brennan strode into base security headquarters with documents prepared and grievances organized into formal complaint structure. The security office operated with institutional efficiency, processing concerns about personnel conduct and potential security violations through established protocols that balanced operational security against personnel rights. Lieutenant Colonel Barnes reviewed Brennan's written complaint with professional attention, his experience with security investigations enabling quick assessment of allegation quality and evidence strength. The complaint characterized Martinez as a suspicious individual whose behavior patterns suggested intelligence gathering rather than routine facility maintenance. According to this report, she has been loitering in classified discussion areas and positioning herself to overhear sensitive operational information, Barnes noted while reviewing Brennan's detailed accusations. The security chief recognized legitimate concerns about unauthorized access, mixed with subjective interpretations that required careful evaluation. Brennan emphasized Martinez's presence during multiple classified briefings, her apparent interest in operational details, and her resistance to direction from authorized personnel. His presentation painted a systematic picture of security violations that demanded immediate investigation and potential removal from sensitive areas. Patterson arrived to provide supporting testimony about Martinez's inappropriate presence during operational planning sessions, confirming Brennan's characterization of her behavior as concerning rather than routine. His endorsement carried weight due to his position and apparent objectivity about security protocols. Barnes accepted the formal complaint while noting requirements for thorough investigation before drawing conclusions about actual security threats. The process demanded interview with accused individual, review of access logs, and assessment of potential damage from alleged unauthorized information exposure. "We will schedule formal interview with this individual tomorrow morning," Barnes decided while entering case details into security database. Investigation protocols require comprehensive examination of allegations before implementing restrictions or recommending disciplinary action. The security apparatus began moving through established procedures, while Brennan departed with satisfaction about institutional response to his concerns. His confidence reflected expectations about support from command structure that shared his assumptions about appropriate hierarchies and security priorities. Meanwhile, Rodriguez contacted Colonel Henderson, his supervisor's commanding officer, leveraging personal relationships developed during previous assignments to bypass normal administrative delays. Henderson commanded respect throughout the installation through demonstrated leadership and fair treatment of personnel regardless of rank or assignment. "Colonel, I need to discuss personnel situation involving potential misconduct toward decorated service member." Rodriguez began carefully, recognizing sensitivity of approaching senior officer about institutional problems. This concerns individual whose service record may not reflect her actual background and qualifications. Henderson initially expressed skepticism about Rodriguez's concerns, having dealt with numerous complaints about personality conflicts and adjustment difficulties that personnel sometimes elevated beyond appropriate levels. His experience suggested most such issues resolved through normal administrative channels without command intervention. Rodriguez persisted with specific details about Martinez's Ranger Regiment background, combat deployment history, and suspected award citations that contradicted her current assignment and treatment. His presentation emphasized institutional failure rather than individual conflict, requesting command attention to systemic problems. Henderson's interest sharpened when Rodriguez mentioned classified operational background and potential security clearance issues that might affect personnel management decisions. The colonel recognized implications about administrative errors that could create serious problems if mishandled or ignored. "I will review her complete service record immediately," Henderson decided while accessing personnel database through command authorization levels. "If your concerns prove accurate, this situation requires immediate correction and accountability for any inappropriate treatment of qualified personnel." Henderson's investigation revealed Martinez's service record contained multiple classified commendations and security clearances that exceeded most personnel on the installation. Her background included awards and assignments that demanded immediate respect and appropriate utilization of her capabilities rather than assignment to basic maintenance duties. The colonel discovered Martinez's clearance levels surpassed those of officers who had been criticizing her performance and questioning her presence during classified discussions. The irony of the situation became clear as he reviewed credentials that qualified her for access to information beyond their authorization levels. Henderson realized institutional failure of significant proportions, recognizing that decorated combat veteran with highest security clearances had been subjected to harassment and discrimination by less qualified personnel. The administrative error demanded immediate correction and investigation of personnel management decisions. Martinez continued her assigned duties while observing increased attention from security personnel and subtle changes in officer behavior patterns. Her experience with hostile environments enabled recognition of coordination efforts and systematic attempts to document her activities for official purposes. She noted officers timing their movements to coincide with her presence in sensitive areas, their conversations becoming deliberately louder when discussing classified matters, and their apparent documentation of her responses to their provocations. The pattern suggested organized effort to create evidence supporting predetermined conclusions. Facility Supervisor Jenkins received official notification restricting Martinez to non-sensitive building areas, eliminating her access to officer quarters and conference rooms where classified activities occurred. The order arrived through security channels with immediate implementation requirements that bypassed normal administrative review procedures. Martinez recognized the restriction as formal escalation from harassment to institutional action, understanding that official processes would determine her continued assignment and potential consequences. Her preparation for formal confrontation drew upon years of experience with challenging situations that required careful navigation of complex organizational dynamics. The restriction order effectively validated officer complaints while presuming guilt before investigation completion, creating disadvantage for Martinez in upcoming formal proceedings. The institutional bias toward command personnel reflected systemic problems that extended beyond individual misconduct to organizational culture issues. Rodriguez monitored developments with growing concern about institutional failures that allowed harassment to escalate into formal accusations without proper investigation. His commitment to protecting fellow service members intensified as evidence mounted about systemic bias against personnel who lacked advocates within command structure. Henderson scheduled emergency meeting with Base Commander General Morrison, recognizing that Martinez's situation required immediate attention at highest levels to prevent further institutional embarrassment and ensure appropriate treatment of decorated veteran. The colonel prepared comprehensive brief about administrative failures and personnel management problems that demanded command attention and corrective action. The security office maintained institutional atmosphere designed to emphasize serious consequences for personnel who violated regulations or compromised operational security. Martinez arrived precisely on schedule, her bearing reflecting military discipline that contrasted sharply with typical civilian contractor nervousness during formal interviews about alleged misconduct. Lieutenant Colonel Barnes reviewed his prepared questions while observing Martinez's posture and demeanor, noting immediate discrepancies between her professional presentation and the complaint characterizations that described suspicious or inappropriate behavior. Her military bearing exceeded most personnel he interviewed during security investigations. Sergeant Martinez, you have been accused of positioning yourself to overhear classified discussions during operational planning sessions. Barnes began while consulting Brennan's detailed complaint. Multiple officers report concerns about your presence in sensitive areas and apparent interest in information beyond your clearance requirements. Martinez responded with precise chronology of her assigned duties, detailing specific times, locations, and supervisory instructions that govern her access to building areas during facility maintenance operations. Her answers demonstrated comprehensive understanding of security protocols rather than ignorance about appropriate behavior. Barnes noted her familiarity with classification levels, compartmented information handling, and operational security principles that suggested experience beyond typical cleaning personnel background. Her terminology and understanding reflected exposure to security procedures through formal training rather than casual observation. The interview progressed through detailed examination of her interactions with officers, her awareness of classified discussions, and her responses to complaints about her presence during sensitive meetings. Martinez provided factual accounts without defensive reactions, maintaining professional composure throughout aggressive questioning. Barnes recognized growing disconnect between complaint allegations and interview evidence, observing military professional who understood security requirements rather than civilian contractor who posed potential threats. Her responses demonstrated competence and reliability that contradicted officer characterizations of her behavior. Can you explain your previous military assignments and security clearance background? Barnes asked while noting her confident handling of technical security terminology. Your responses suggest familiarity with classified operations beyond typical facility and maintenance requirements. Martinez provided general outline of her service history, mentioning multiple deployments and specialized training without revealing specific operational details that required security protections. Her careful information control reflected practiced expertise with classification requirements rather than evasion tactics. Simultaneously, Colonel Henderson utilized his command authorization to contact Pentagon Personnel Command directly, bypassing installation administrative channels that had failed to provide adequate information about Martinez's background and assignment purposes. The Pentagon contact revealed Martinez's service record included extensive special operations experience with multiple combat deployments requiring high security clearances and specialized tactical training. Her background encompassed elite military units whose operations demanded exceptional capabilities and absolute reliability. Henderson learned Martinez earned Silver Star for extraordinary heroism during Afghanistan deployment, specifically for actions that saved entire unit from enemy ambush through precise marksmanship and tactical leadership under extreme combat conditions. Her citation described courage and effectiveness that defined exceptional military service. The Pentagon personnel specialist explained Martinez's current assignment represented temporary duty pending classified posting that required security processing and administrative coordination between multiple agencies. Her facility maintenance assignment served as administrative placeholder rather than appropriate utilization of her qualifications. Henderson realized Base Command never received proper briefing about Martinez's background due to administrative failures in personnel coordination and classification handling. The institutional error created a situation where decorated Special Operations veteran endured harassment from officers whose qualifications paled compared to her achievements. The colonel discovered Martinez's security clearances exceeded those of every officer who had filed complaints against her, creating absurd situation where personnel with lower clearances questioned presence of individual authorized for access to information beyond their levels. Henderson recognized institutional embarrassment of massive proportions, understanding that base personnel had subjected decorated combat hero to treatment that violated fundamental military principles about respect for distinguished service and proper recognition of exceptional contributions. Barnes concluded the security interview with formal determination that no evidence supported allegations of inappropriate behavior or security violations. Martinez's responses demonstrated competence, reliability, and understanding of proper protocols that contradicted every aspect of the complaints filed against her. The security chief privately questioned the validity of officer accusations, recognizing patterns that suggested personal animosity rather than legitimate security concerns. His experience with personnel conflicts enabled distinction between actual threats and harassment disguised as institutional protection. Barnes documented his findings while noting discrepancies between Martinez's professional competence and officer characterizations that portrayed her as security risk. The formal investigation revealed no evidence supporting accusations while raising questions about motivation behind complaint filing. Martinez returned to her assigned duties with awareness that formal processes had begun examination of her situation and treatment by base personnel. Her experience with institutional investigations provided confidence that truth would emerge through proper channels despite initial bias toward officer complaints. Henderson immediately scheduled an emergency meeting with Base Commander General Morrison, recognizing that Martinez's situation demanded immediate attention at highest command levels to prevent further institutional damage and ensure appropriate treatment of distinguished veteran. The colonel prepared comprehensive briefing about administrative failures that placed decorated Special Operations veteran in inappropriate assignment while allowing harassment from less qualified personnel. His presentation would demand accountability and immediate corrective action to protect institutional integrity and military values. Rodriguez monitored developments through informal networks while maintaining his commitment to ensuring Martinez received appropriate treatment regardless of personal career consequences. His dedication to protecting fellow service members reflected military values that transcended rank considerations and institutional politics. The formal investigation phase concluded with evidence supporting Martinez's credibility while undermining officer accusations, setting stage for command intervention that would transform her situation and deliver accountability for personnel whose behavior violated fundamental military principles about respect and professional conduct. General Morrison spread Martinez's complete service file across his conference table with growing disbelief, each classified document revealing layers of exceptional military service that contradicted everything his staff had reported about cleaning personnel problems. Colonel Henderson watched his commander's expression shift from skeptical attention to shocked recognition as the truth emerged through official documentation. Morrison examined Martinez's Silver Star citation with particular focus, reading detailed account of her actions during Taliban ambush in Afghanistan that saved 12 soldiers through extraordinary courage and tactical expertise. The citation described precise marksmanship under extreme fire that eliminated multiple enemy positions while coordinating extraction of wounded personnel. She single-handedly held off enemy assault for 47 minutes while calling in helicopter support and providing medical aid to wounded team members. Morrison read aloud while processing implications about her actual capabilities. Her actions prevented complete unit destruction through tactical leadership and combat effectiveness under life-threatening conditions. Henderson detailed his investigation findings about administrative failures that placed decorated Special Operations veteran in facility maintenance assignment, while his staff subjected her to harassment and discrimination. The colonel emphasized institutional damage that demanded immediate correction and accountability for personnel management failures. Morrison realized his base had become location of military scandal involving mistreatment of distinguished combat veteran by officers whose qualifications appeared minimal compared to her achievements. The situation represented institutional failure that could attract unwanted attention from Pentagon leadership and congressional oversight committees. This represents complete breakdown of our personnel management and leadership standards, Morrison declared, while reviewing evidence of systematic harassment documented through Rodriguez's complaints and Barnes's investigation findings. Decorated veterans deserve institutional protection rather than persecution from less qualified personnel. The general ordered immediate comprehensive investigation of all interactions between Martinez and Officer Corps, demanding detailed review of their conduct and accountability for behavior that violated fundamental military values. His directive encompassed examination of command climate and institutional culture that enabled such treatment. Morrison scheduled personal meeting with Martinez to provide formal apology and ensure appropriate recognition of her service contributions, recognizing that institutional credibility required acknowledgement of failures and commitment to corrective action. The base commander accepted responsibility for administrative errors that created her situation. Meanwhile, Captain Brennan approached Martinez in the main hallway of Officer Barracks Complex C with determination to assert final authority over her presence in areas he considered inappropriate for cleaning personnel. His confidence reflected ignorance about investigation findings and command attention that would soon transform their dynamic completely. Torres and Walsh flanked Brennan as witnesses to what he intended as definitive resolution of security concerns through direct confrontation and official removal of problematic individual from sensitive building areas. Their presence provided validation for his authority while documenting her expected compliance with superior officer directives. Brennan positioned himself directly in Martinez's path while she transported cleaning supplies between storage areas, forcing confrontation in public space, where other personnel could observe his assertion of proper military hierarchy and appropriate response to persistent security violations. "You need to leave this building immediately," Brennan demanded with voice raised to ensure others heard his authoritative direction. "Your presence in officer areas creates ongoing security concerns that require immediate resolution through removal from sensitive locations." Martinez maintained professional bearing while responding that her current assignment provided proper authorization for facility maintenance duties in all building areas designated by supervisory personnel. Her calm presentation contrasted sharply with Brennan's aggressive posture and elevated voice. Brennan escalated through personal attacks about her competence and qualifications, questioning her understanding of military hierarchy and proper deference to superior officers. His insults mixed legitimate concerns about security protocols with personal frustration about her resistance to intimidation tactics. "Your background clearly indicates inadequate preparation for military environment," Brennan declared while Torres and Walsh nodded agreement. "Personnel who cannot understand basic protocol requirements have no place in areas where real soldiers conduct important operations." The confrontation attracted attention from other building occupants as Brennan's voice carried beyond immediate vicinity, his aggressive tone suggesting serious disciplinary action rather than routine administrative discussion. Martinez absorbed his verbal assault without defensive reaction while maintaining dignified composure throughout personal attacks. Rodriguez approached rapidly upon hearing raised voices, recognizing escalation that required intervention before physical confrontation developed. His arrival provided witness to Brennan's inappropriate behavior while offering potential de-escalation through third-party presence. "Captain, perhaps this discussion should occur through official channels," Rodriguez suggested carefully while positioning himself to observe both parties. "Administrative concerns typically receive better resolution through proper procedures rather than informal confrontation in public areas." Brennan dismissed Rodriguez's intervention while maintaining focus on Martinez, determined to achieve public demonstration of his authority over personnel who challenged his directives. His persistence reflected desperation to validate his previous complaints through forcing submission or removal. General Morrison entered the building for routine quarterly inspection of officer facilities, his timing coinciding perfectly with Brennan's public confrontation. The base commander observed final moments of aggressive behavior from distance sufficient to assess situation dynamics, while remaining unrecognized by participants. Morrison noted Brennan's elevated voice, Martinez's professional composure under verbal assault, and Rodriguez's attempted intervention in situation that clearly violated appropriate conduct standards. The general recognized opportunity to witness actual interaction patterns that validated investigation findings about institutional problems. The confrontation reached climax as Brennan demanded immediate compliance with his removal directive while Martinez maintained her position with quiet dignity that suggested confidence in her authorization and qualifications. Their opposing postures reflected fundamental misconceptions that would shortly face correction through command intervention and truth revelation. Morrison approached the group with command presence that immediately altered dynamics. His arrival transforming harassment scenario into accountability moment that would demonstrate consequences for behavior that violated military values and institutional standards about treatment of distinguished veterans. General Morrison approached the confrontation with measured command presence that immediately shifted attention from harassment dynamics to accountability moment. His aide followed discreetly while the base commander assessed personnel behavior that would determine immediate consequences and institutional response to violations of military conduct standards. Captain Brennan recognized Morrison's approach with visible alarm, his aggressive posture transforming into attempted justification of his actions through explanation about security concerns and appropriate removal of problematic personnel from sensitive areas. His voice carried defensive overtones as he realized command attention to his confrontation methods. "General, This individual has been creating ongoing security issues through inappropriate presence during classified discussions. Brennan began rapidly while gesturing toward Martinez. We have been addressing persistent violations of proper protocol through direct intervention when administrative channels proved inadequate. Morrison ignored Brennan's explanation while focusing complete attention on Martinez. His experienced assessment, noting her military bearing and professional composure under stress that suggested background inconsistent with facility maintenance assignment. The general approached her directly with command authority that demanded immediate respect and honest response. "Sergeant, I need to see your military identification immediately," Morrison stated clearly while extending his hand with expectation of immediate compliance. His tone carried formal authority that transformed routine request into official command, requiring precise military protocol and complete honesty about service background. Martinez presented her military identification with crisp precision, her movement reflecting automatic response developed through years of military service and command interaction. Her bearing demonstrated respect for proper hierarchy while maintaining dignity that suggested confidence in her qualifications and service record. Morrison examined the identification carefully while noting her name, rank, and service details that triggered recognition of information he had reviewed during his earlier investigation. His expression shifted as he connected official documentation with personnel he had been discussing with Colonel Henderson about institutional failures. The general's attention moved to Martinez's uniform ribbons, his experienced identifying decorations that reflected exceptional service and combat experience. Morrison's focus settled on Silver Star ribbon positioned with mathematical precision according to military regulations, the award representing extraordinary heroism under combat conditions. "Sergeant Martinez, tell me about the circumstances that earned you this Silver Star," Morrison commanded while pointing directly to the ribbon that confirmed her identity as decorated combat veteran rather than basic facility maintenance personnel. His question demanded specific details about actions that warranted one of military's highest combat decorations. "Afghanistan, 2019, Sir," Martinez responded with precise military bearing. "My unit came under Taliban ambush during patrol operation. 12 soldiers pinned down by enemy fire from elevated positions. I maintained defensive position for 47 minutes while coordinating helicopter extraction and providing medical assistance to wounded personnel." Morrison listened with growing recognition as Martinez described tactical situation and her response that saved entire unit through exceptional marksmanship and leadership under extreme combat stress. Her account matched Pentagon briefings he had read about distinguished actions by special operations personnel in Afghanistan theater. "You eliminated how many enemy positions during that engagement?" Morrison asked while processing implications about her actual combat capabilities and qualifications that exceeded every assumption his officers had made about her background and military experience. 7 confirmed eliminations, Sir, Martinez replied without embellishment or pride, treating extraordinary achievement as factual report rather than personal accomplishment. Her professional delivery reflected military discipline developed through elite training and combat experience that defined exceptional service members. Morrison realized he was addressing the same soldier whose heroic actions he had studied in classified briefings about special operations successes in Afghanistan. Recognizing her as decorated veteran whose courage and tactical expertise had saved multiple American lives through extraordinary performance under fire. Brennan and the other officers stood motionless as they processed the revelation that their target represented one of military's most distinguished combat veterans rather than incompetent cleaning personnel. Their assumptions about her qualifications and service background collapsed completely as truth emerged through official command inquiry. "Captain Brennan, you and your officers have been harassing a decorated special operations veteran whose service record includes extraordinary heroism and qualifications that exceed your own," Morrison declared with voice carrying absolute authority and unmistakable displeasure about institutional failures under his command. The general's stern gaze encompassed Torres and Walsh as he addressed systematic misconduct that violated fundamental military principles about respect for distinguished service and proper treatment of fellow soldiers regardless of current assignment or duty status. This harassment ends immediately. Morrison commanded while his aide documented the scene for official purposes. Each of you will provide formal written apology acknowledging your inappropriate treatment of Sergeant Martinez and your failure to verify her background before making assumptions about her qualifications. Morrison turned to Martinez with expression combining respect for her service and regret about institutional failures that subjected decorated veteran to treatment that contradicted every military value about recognition and support for distinguished personnel who had sacrificed for their fellow soldiers. Sergeant Martinez, you will receive immediate reassignment to duties appropriate for your qualifications and experience, Morrison declared while his aide prepared implementation orders. Your service record demands recognition rather than relegation to inappropriate assignment that fails to utilize your exceptional capabilities. The hallway atmosphere shifted completely as command authority established proper hierarchy based on actual qualifications rather than mistaken assumptions, with Martinez's true status transforming her from harassment target to respected veteran, deserving institutional protection and appropriate recognition for extraordinary military service. General Morrison convened emergency meeting within 2 hours of the hallway confrontation, assembling every officer who had participated in Martinez's harassment in his conference room, where classified documents awaited examination. Major Patterson, Captain Brennan, Captain Walsh, and Lieutenant Torres entered with obvious apprehension about command attention to their personnel management approaches. Morrison spread Martinez's complete service record across the conference table with systematic precision, each classified document revealing extraordinary military achievements that contradicted every assumption they had made about her background and qualifications. The assembled evidence represented institutional failure of massive proportions requiring immediate accountability. Gentlemen, you have subjected one of this installation's most decorated veterans to systematic harassment based on complete ignorance about her service contributions. Morrison began while his stern gaze encompassed each officer. Your behavior violated fundamental military principles about respect for distinguished service and proper personnel treatment. The general presented Martinez's Silver Star citation first, reading aloud her actions during Taliban ambush that saved 12 American soldiers through exceptional courage and tactical expertise under extreme combat conditions. His voice carried unmistakable displeasure as he detailed heroism that demanded respect rather than persecution. Patterson's expression shifted from defensive preparation to shocked recognition as Morrison revealed classified operational details about Martinez's special operations background, multiple combat deployments, and security clearances that exceeded those of everyone present in the conference room. Captain Brennan, your harassment included physical intimidation of decorated combat veteran whose qualifications surpass your own, Morrison declared while reviewing documented incidents of inappropriate conduct. Your behavior represents complete failure of military leadership and professional standards that demand immediate corrective action. Brennan faced formal reprimand for harassment and unprofessional conduct, his personnel file receiving permanent documentation about inappropriate treatment of subordinate personnel and failure to verify background information before making assumptions about service member qualifications and assignment appropriateness. Morrison addressed Patterson directly about his support for Brennan's accusations and his failure to investigate Martinez's background before endorsing security complaints that lacked factual foundation. The major received formal counseling for inadequate personnel management and poor judgment in supporting harassment rather than protection. Walsh and Torres faced similar accountability for their participation in group harassment and their failure to question obviously inappropriate treatment of fellow service member. Their counseling emphasized obligations to protect personnel from misconduct regardless of rank differences or social pressures from peers. The officers absorbed their individual consequences while processing collective realization that they had targeted one of military's most distinguished veterans based on assumptions about her appearance and current assignment rather than investigation of her actual service record and qualifications. Rodriguez received formal commendation for bringing concerns through proper channels despite potential career risks from challenging superior officers. Morrison announced while presenting written recognition for his dedication to protecting fellow service member and upholding military values about respect and dignity. Your actions demonstrated proper military leadership when others failed to recognize distinguished veteran in their midst. Morrison told Rodriguez, while emphasizing his courage in pursuing truth despite institutional pressures to avoid confrontation with established hierarchies and command personnel. The general scheduled private meeting with Martinez to discuss her experience and ensure appropriate institutional response to systematic harassment that violated her rights as decorated veteran and military professional. Morrison recognized obligation to provide personal apology and commitment to corrective action. Martinez entered Morrison's office with professional bearing that reflected dignity maintained throughout her ordeal, her composure demonstrating strength developed through combat experience and military service that prepared her for challenges far exceeding administrative harassment and personnel conflicts. Sergeant Martinez, I offer formal apology on behalf of this command for institutional failures that subjected you to inappropriate treatment. Morrison stated clearly while accepting responsibility for administrative errors and personnel management problems that created her situation. Martinez provided factual account of harassment incidents without expressing anger or demanding retribution, maintaining professional focus on institutional improvement rather than personal grievances. Her measured response reflected military discipline and commitment to unit cohesion despite individual mistreatment. Morrison implemented new assignment protocols requiring comprehensive background verification before personnel placement, ensuring future assignments match qualifications and preventing similar incidents through administrative safeguards and command oversight of personnel decisions. The base commander ordered mandatory briefing for all personnel about proper treatment of service members regardless of current assignment or duty status, emphasizing respect for military service and prohibition of harassment based on assumptions about background or qualifications. Martinez received immediate reassignment to appropriate duties, matching her security clearances and special operations experience, working with elite training units where her combat expertise and tactical knowledge could contribute meaningfully to mission preparation and soldier development. Her new assignment included oversight of advanced marksmanship training and tactical instruction for special operations candidates, utilizing her exceptional capabilities in roles that recognized her distinguished service record and provided appropriate challenges for someone with her background and experience. The institutional correction encompassed policy changes, personnel training, and accountability measures designed to prevent future incidents while demonstrating command commitment to protecting distinguished veterans and maintaining proper military values about respect and recognition for exceptional service. Morrison concluded the corrective process by ensuring Martinez received appropriate recognition ceremony, acknowledging her Silver Star in combat service, providing public validation of her contributions while educating base personnel about the decorated veteran who had been working among them without proper acknowledgement. The rapid institutional response transformed Martinez's situation from harassment target to respected veteran receiving appropriate treatment, while delivering consequences that emphasized military values about dignity, respect, and protection for service members whose contributions defined institutional excellence and commitment to fellow soldiers. 3 weeks after the confrontation transformed Fort Davidson's command climate, Martinez stood before 30 junior officers in advanced tactical training facility, her Silver Star ribbon visible to students who now understood they were learning from one of Special Operations' most distinguished veterans. The classroom atmosphere reflected respect earned through recognition rather than assumptions based on appearance or assignment. Captain Brennan operated in significantly reduced capacity, pending comprehensive review of his leadership fitness and potential transfer to administrative position away from personnel management responsibilities. His harassment of decorated veteran created permanent mark on his service record, while serving as cautionary example about consequences of prejudicial behavior. Rodriguez received promotion to team leader with additional responsibilities for personnel integration and command climate monitoring. His courage in protecting Martinez earning recognition that advanced his career while demonstrating institutional values about standing up for fellow service members regardless of personal risk. The new protocols Morrison implemented required comprehensive background verification before personnel assignment, ensuring service members received appropriate recognition and utilization of their qualifications rather than placement based on incomplete information or administrative convenience. Martinez addressed her training class with professional competence that commanded immediate attention, her tactical expertise evident through detailed instruction about combat situations and decision-making under extreme stress. The officers absorbed lessons from someone whose actual experience validated every principle she taught. Combat effectiveness depends on accurate assessment of threats and capabilities, Martinez explained, while reviewing tactical scenarios that reflected real situations she had encountered during multiple deployments. Assumptions about enemy capabilities or friendly personnel can compromise mission success and endanger lives. Her instruction emphasized thorough intelligence, gathering and verification of information before making tactical decisions. Lessons that extended beyond combat applications to personnel management and leadership responsibilities in garrison environments where proper assessment prevented institutional failures. Young female soldiers began approaching Martinez as mentor and role model, recognizing opportunities to learn from decorated veteran whose achievements demonstrated possibilities for military service that transcended traditional limitations and stereotypical assumptions about capabilities and career potential. The base implemented monthly recognition ceremony highlighting distinguished veterans and their service contributions, ensuring personnel understood the backgrounds and achievements of fellow service members who might otherwise remain anonymous despite extraordinary military accomplishments and sacrifice. Martinez's Silver Star story spread throughout the installation, creating awareness about heroism that occurred during routine patrol operations when exceptional individuals responded to crisis situations with courage and tactical skill that saved multiple American lives through personal sacrifice and professional excellence. Officers who had previously dismissed her competence now sought her professional guidance on tactical matters and operational planning, their requests reflecting transformed understanding about her qualifications and expertise that could contribute significantly to mission preparation and unit effectiveness. The institutional culture shift extended beyond individual accountability to systematic changes in how personnel were evaluated, assigned, and treated based on comprehensive understanding of their backgrounds rather than surface-level assumptions that led to inappropriate treatment and wasted capabilities. Morrison's leadership during the crisis established new standards for command climate and personnel protection that influenced other installations through formal reports and informal networks among senior officers who recognized importance of preventing similar institutional failures. New arrivals at Fort Davidson received comprehensive orientation about respecting fellow service members and verifying background information before making assumptions about qualifications or capabilities, preventing future incidents through education and clear expectations about professional conduct. The training facility displayed photographs and citations of distinguished veterans serving at the installation, providing visual reminder about exceptional service records that might not be immediately apparent through current assignments or casual interaction with personnel. Martinez concluded her class with emphasis on thorough assessment and respect for capabilities that might not be immediately visible, drawing parallels between tactical situations requiring accurate intelligence and personnel management requiring comprehensive understanding of individual backgrounds and qualifications. Your effectiveness as leaders depends on recognizing and utilizing the full capabilities of personnel under your command, Martinez explained, while reviewing case studies that demonstrated consequences of both accurate assessment and mistaken assumptions about subordinate abilities and potential contributions. The afternoon session included practical exercises where officers practiced verification techniques and comprehensive evaluation methods that prevented incomplete information from leading to inappropriate treatment or inadequate utilization of qualified personnel in various assignment contexts. As evening approached, Martinez observed the transformed environment where service members received appropriate treatment based on verified information rather than assumptions, creating institutional culture that protected distinguished veterans while maintaining proper military hierarchy and respect for exceptional service. The final moments of her teaching day reflected broader changes throughout Fort Davidson, where personnel now operated under clear expectations about professional conduct and comprehensive assessment that prevented harassment while ensuring appropriate recognition for military achievements that defined institutional excellence. Martinez gathered her training materials with satisfaction about contributing to institutional improvement that would prevent future incidents while ensuring distinguished veterans received appropriate treatment and recognition for service that exemplified military values about courage, sacrifice, and dedication to protecting fellow Americans. Where are you from? Have you experienced situations where assumptions were made about your capabilities based on appearance rather than actual qualifications? Stories like Martinez's remind us that true strength and expertise often remain hidden until circumstances reveal the extraordinary capabilities that people carry within themselves. The story concluded with a lasting demonstration that proper recognition and respect must be earned through understanding rather than assumptions, creating environments where exceptional individuals receive appropriate treatment based on verified achievements, rather than surface-level impressions that fail to capture the depth of experience and capability that define distinguished service and personal excellence.